What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chris. It's your boy Chris. It's another amazing episode of Financipation. This channel is all about making money. It's all about saving money. It's all about building generational wealth. And it's all about financially emancipating yourself from generational poverty. As you guys know, I try to bring you the best content, the best entrepreneurs, and some of the best financial minds that we can speak of and we can talk to. And I met Ariel at a conference that I was recently just at. I was blown away by. I actually met her at a social justice conference. We talked about everything from like finance to like building generational wealth to kind of like just advancing just financial literacy for all communities. And I found it to be pretty dope. So first off, Ariel, how are you? How are you doing?
Oh, I'm so great. Thank you so much for having me, Chris.
It's nice to, and I'm glad that you accepted and you decided to be here. Definitely am. So first off, let's start with a couple of rapid fire questions for you, okay? So first off, who's better, Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, quarterback?
I mean, Tom Brady, I'd have to be a hometown fan, and being from Massachusetts, got to support my Patriots players there.
Got you. No blood, no foul. As an Eagles fan, I obviously have my own different take on that. I don't like either guy. It is. All right, Celtics or the Patriots? So both of them have been very good the last couple of years. Celtics or Patriots? Which one are you?
I guess Celtics, because it's a lot warmer at their games.
Understood. All right. A Sig Sauer or a Glock kind of gal? Which one for concealed carry?
Which one?
Sig Sauer or Glock? Which one for concealed carry?
Oh, I have a Smith & Wesson.
Okay, all right. 10-4, a very good manufacturer as well. All right, Remington 700 or Winchester Model 70 for hunting deer and everything?
Ooh, I am a Remington girl.
Remington girl. All right, got you. I like Remington as well. I like it as well. Food. Boston is known for its food. Crimpy or cannoli? Which one?
Ooh, cannoli.
Oh yeah, I like cannoli as well. Clam chowder or Yankee pot roast? Which one?
Oh, clam chowder every day.
I prefer Yankee pot roast. I actually made it for my wife a couple of days ago. She didn't realize that's what I made her. So yeah. All right, entrepreneurship. Would you rather make $300,000 working as a hedge fund manager, or would you rather make $150K working for yourself?
$150K working for myself.
I love it. Cool. All right, thank you for answering those questions, Ariel. I think it gives my listeners a little bit idea about just kind of how you think and everything. So first off, let's just start at the top, I guess. Describe yourself. Describe yourself to my audience. Who are you? Who is Ariel?
Ariel is definitely your very determined, very idealistic, I'd say at sometimes, optimistic for sure. I don't think anybody can be an entrepreneur and not be deliriously optimistic. And I'm really passionate, and I'm really passionate about changing the world and making this country a better and stronger place, not just for us, but for our children and the generations to come.
Dope. I love it, and I agree 1,000,000% with that. Describe your upbringing in the early childhood. I guess who is Ariel per se?
Yeah, so I had a kind of unique childhood. I grew up, I was the second marriage of my father's, where I had three older siblings that were half siblings, and my younger brother and I were from one mom, they were from a different mom. We grew up in a giant house on the edge of the state forest with a pool, a neighborhood full of all kids my age. And when I was 7, my mom was kicked out. She was the head of the ER at St. Vincent's Hospital. And she was a horrible alcoholic and had borderline personality disorder. And so after my dad and her worked very different schedules. He's a forensic detective. He worked nights, and they both were kind of opposite. He was on call all the time. And so he got tipped off by my grandmother that something wasn't right was going on. And he, started kind of looking for some evidence of what was happening. And then my mom was too drunk to get my little brother off the bus and showed up drunk to the school to go pick him up. And then the mayhem of the cat was out of the bag at that point. And then we got into, it was a 7-year custody battle and over my brother and I. And thankfully my dad won. And at the time, less than 2% of divorces did fathers get sole custody. And my mom being 5'2", blonde, blue-eyed, and a doctor, it was really hard for people to believe that she was actually like the demon living in our house. And we went from that beautiful 5,000 square foot house to having it foreclosed on us moving into a 2-bedroom apartment on Route 9, having to move away from my neighborhood, give away my pets. We couldn't have our pets there, so I had to give them away. And while all that was going on, I've always been a horse girl. So I started mucking stalls for my own lessons. Um, and I remember distinctly being 10 years old and on the way to basketball practice, my dad, I could just tell he was upset and stressed. And I said, "What's wrong?" And he just said, "We have $25 left for the week, and I don't know how we're going to make it till Friday because it's Tuesday." And I just remember very much, like, that's such a distinct core memory for me. And then as time went on, and then my riding teacher, who was like my mom, she was amazing. Is the reason I am the woman I am today. And she got cancer and passed away. And so I got a job working for this, at the time, in my eyes, a bajillionaire. And he had this crazy estate. He had a whole, museum of cars. He had an indoor arena, a whole carriage house full of his 18th and 17th carriage remakes and some originals. And he had these, $80,000 Claude Driver and Lipizzan horses. And he would take 4 horses pulled by a carriage to breakfast every day at the Wayside Inn in Sudbury, Massachusetts, which is historical. And when we were down there, I was his footman. I would get the horses ready, muck the stalls, turn them out. But he really just exposed me to this complete caliber of life that I had ever experienced. I mean, even one day I remember he said, "You're coming down for the weekend. You have to help me move our yacht." I was like, "Move a yacht? I don't know about this." And then I was getting a little bit older in high school, and he said, "You're not working on the farm this summer. You're going to come work in my real estate office." And I was so sad. This went from the best job ever, training horses and running around the baby goats all day, to scanning 20 years of blueprints and into making them all digital and helping the attorneys and this and that. But it was really great experience. And I definitely feel like having really experienced that kind of middle class life, pretty much poverty, and then going back up and then having an exposure to this, extremely lavish 1% kind of lifestyle, all before the age of 18, I think really gave me a lot of the exposure that pushed me into the direction I went into.
Nice. There's a lot to unpack about that. I guess first off, between your parents and everything, as far as your father, how did that shape your idea about, I guess, masculinity, manhood, and the father? It seemed like your father really stepped in and took ownership of to some extent, it could have been a negative situation, I would say.
Yeah, my dad is the best human being on the planet. He is my best friend, and he sacrificed everything, not just for my youngest brother and I, but my older siblings as well. Like, he did so much for my sister, staying up every night with her, studying and helping her get through nursing school. My brother Jared at one point came back and lived with us after he graduated from college around in like that 2009, 2010 timeframe. And, job market wasn't great. He didn't know what he was trying to get a job and land on his feet. And there was 3 kids and my dad in our 2-bedroom apartment for a while. And I will say, like, the best thing about him is, like, we had a hard time, but we didn't have a bad time. Like, there's such a difference there. And even when we were like scraping the bottom of the barrel and, when we ran out of heat, it was, okay, we're having a sleepover in the living room. It wasn't, and we're going to turn this into something that's going to be okay. And, I don't understand how the hell he did it. He worked like a maniac. He did everything for us. We had, like I said, it wasn't bad. It was hard.
Nice. I love hearing stories about superhero fathers like that because I unfortunately run across a lot of people who don't really have a lot of good things to say about their father. And it's nice to always hear women, especially, that talk about how much they love their dads and stuff like that, and sons as well. So I've never met the guy, but damn, man, he did a phenomenal job. And it's interesting because I never would have known. I didn't know any of that stuff about you. And the stories she's gonna give me, I could literally see those stories are playing in your eyes, and I'm happy that it turned out the way that it did, Earl, because it could have turned sideways, definitely.
So easily, and it's funny, I do look back and think about how many points in my life I've hit a crossroad where it was either a group of friends or, choices that you make along the way. And I'm like, I'm so glad that he helped me to make all the right ones along the way.
And that's the truth. Yeah, it's just I sometimes look about the periods of my life and different times I could have went left and just. I mean, I say God and stuff like that. I just didn't make the kind of choices that a lot of my friends made. And yeah, having very, very good parents is one of those kind of things that you really can't put a premium on. And even that mentor that stepped in, I mean, what was that like going from being very wealthy to being very poor and then being around an extremely wealthy guy who kind of took you under? What was that experience like? It had to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like, I think the hardest piece of the whole thing was, and we could have had like a nicer apartment had we changed towns, but I grew up in Southborough and it was a nicer town. And my dad said, you guys lost everything. I won't have you lose all your friends as well. And, it also had a great public school system. But that was so important. It wasn't even about, he never made it even about the school thing. It was very much about like, I'm not gonna have you guys lose your friends on top of everything else that you just lost. And that's love. That sacrifice and that level of that is like what love is in my eyes. And he, like I said, even though we had this big change of environment, we didn't have a change in family. Like our family unit was still, and if anything, like we became so close. Like we were the ultimately close this unit, and that goes for my other siblings as too, because my brother Nathan was always like, if we had no school that day or parent teacher development day or whatever, all right, well, you're going to brother Nathan's today. And my sister, my 9/11 story is that my sister picked us up from middle school and said, Dad's not going to be home for a while because my dad was doing body identification at 9/11. And so it was my sister who was there taking care of us. And we just have all these like really great, the five of us, we are so close and have so many great memories together, because it was always just us and Dad. And it's been, but I think when it comes to that changing and living environment, I think it really solidified for me how much money does not mean happiness. Because when I saw this family that was so high net worth, how many issues there were and how much more love like I had at home in my 2-bedroom apartment, and what more commitment there was, it felt, of that personal involvement in your kids' lives and stuff than I felt like I from an outside looking in anyway saw that they experienced.
Absolutely. I think the reasons why I never joined gangs or when I got offers to sell drugs and stuff like that, why it never appealed to me like it did to a lot of the people that were kind of that same socioeconomic status. I think back and I think one of the reasons why was because one, I was always very, very close to my brothers, just like you are. And times got hard, we had each other. And I think that was the gang, that was the only gang that I ever needed, my brothers and playing sports. And then I think about also other situations that could have went sideways. I did never appeal to me to some extent because I had a mother that kind of stepped in and said, "No, Chris, it's not the route you're going to go." And it's so interesting you say that because kind of to some extent growing to a little bit on both sides of the tracks. Yeah, I was in some schools where everybody drove Maseratis and Beamers and Lexuses to school. I rode the bus and stuff like that. But I kind of saw how much drugs and how much issues were in these kids' families and their parents. Mom was a doctor, dad was a lawyer, and they just had no love at home. Whereas our household was, very different, completely different side of the tracks. But like there actually was love between my brothers and I. And even still to this day, people always say, "Yeah, Chris, you and your brothers are very, very close. You're a lot closer to me. I wish we had the relationship that you and your brothers have." And that just seems so weird to me. I'm like, how can you not like your family members? So that definitely, Earl, I feel you completely with that story about that, and I'm so happy that it turned out positive for you. So yeah.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, one of the questions I always ask my guests and everything, you kind of answer it. What was what was your first memory of money, good or bad? I think you kind of already answered it though to some extent.
Yeah, and it's funny. There are two, and they happened kind of around the same time, but it was actually before that whole, the $25 day with my dad, which we did get through the week somehow. He pulled a miracle. But it was actually with my riding teacher. And we had so I started riding when I was 3. And when I was 7, that's when I started working for my lessons because that's when shit hit the fan, as they say. And um, she had me help her. She started having me train horses with her. And she pushed me beyond whatever the limit is. She pushed me way beyond that for where I was at the time. And I remember the first horse that we had successfully trained and sold. And she sat me down in the aisle of the barn and she walked and she says, "All right, I have something for you." And she gave me an cast iron, beautiful piggy bank. And then she handed me $100 bill.
Nice.
And
Nice.
she said, "This is for your contribution in helping to train this horse and sell it." And then she goes, "Here's a piggy bank so you can keep saving your change so you can buy a horse one day." And she's like, "But you can take the 100 and you can put it in your savings account." And I was like, "I don't have a savings account."
Not yet.
And she took me to the bank and she opened a savings account for me. And she was always telling me about how you needed to think about how to make money. And I started making brownies, and I'd make a batch of brownies. I'd cut them up into squares. I'd put them in plastic bags, and I'd sell them for 25 cents. And my dad named them Ariel's Delights. So I had a little basket, Ariel's Delights. And then I would build saddle racks and sell them, paint them. I would groom people's horses for them, like you name it. All of a sudden, she really just sparked that inside me.
The entrepreneurial spirit, she sparked it.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
I love it. I love it. I would say my first memory of money. I hated the idea of people laughing at my clothes and shoes and stuff like that. So I sold candy. I was a candy man, literally from middle school to my senior year in high school, actually. So all my jerseys, all my do-rags, all my Timberlands, all my actually my first car, I bought it all by selling candy in high school. So I got to the point I was making about $100 a day selling candy. So I
That's
was
amazing.
I was putting in work, yeah. So yeah, but yeah, it sparked an entrepreneurial venture, which actually leads me to my next question. I know you started in corporate. Describe your corporate track, and then ultimately what led you out of it. I would say.
Yeah, so I went to school for finance, and then when I graduated, had an internship at State Street Bank during college, and they offered me a full-time position when I graduated, which I was more than happy to take. Super excited and looking forward to starting my career, being able to work in finance at one of the best custodian banks in the world, and all the great opportunities that were going to come from that. So I was part of this. It was called the Career Compass program. There was 20 kids in it, and we got to go through not just like getting a job there, but we got to go through a lot of extra training, mentorship, other programs that they had for us. So that was really cool experience. And I remember too, it was Gail Coluccio ran it, and it was very kind of hit home for me because my riding teacher's name was Gail, and you just don't run into too many people named that so anymore. So I don't know, it just felt kind of kismet that that's who started this program and who had ultimately picked me for it. So happy to have started there. I actually, during my first year there, realized this program was so great for us coming in as, I think we were coming in as like senior, associate twos or something. But as I just looked around the whole bank, there was not really a lot of opportunity for junior associates, associate ones, even a lot of associate twos to actually get the experience they needed to expand, grow, and climb, and to have access. And State Street's phenomenal for hiring within. They do a really good job of that. But if you don't have the experience you need outside of like your niche, because when it gets so siloed out, so broken down, it's almost like you're working on depending on the department you're in, it could be in those lower levels, it's almost like you're working on a assembly line some days. Like, oh, trade comes in, it's broken, here I do this research, I fix it, it goes out. I do the next one, comes in broken, I fix it, it goes out in recon. So I created this program for junior employees to get experience to other areas of the bank, other divisions, work on some stretch goals and stretch projects, and pitched it to my senior vice president. And I said, "Can I pitch this to you?" And he said, "If you can get this woman from HR to sign off on it, I will hear your pitch." I said, "Okay." So I found this woman. Her name is Jen Tice. Hands like my first ever amazing mentor in corporate, and still great friends this day. And she was like, yeah, this has legs, but you need to do this, this, and this. She ripped it to shreds. I said, okay, I did the work. I come back. She ripped it again to shreds. I come back. And then it got to the point where I presented to our senior vice president. He loved it, and it became an actual program at State Street. And that was when I just realized, this is now I was in an environment where I was thriving in, because how much and how hard I worked, it actually meant something. And I was able to move up really quickly at State Street. And I was just gotten married. I had gotten an opportunity for a vice president role. And I came home and I told my husband, I just got this VP role at 27 years old. I was ecstatic. I was like ready for like the champagne to just explode from everywhere, the confetti to drop from the ceiling. And he just looks at me, my like sweet, calm Michael, and he just says, I don't even see you now for dinner. What does this look like when we have kids? And I was like, what? Like, I'm kicking ass over here. How can you be asking me this? Or like, and so it actually was really great though. We had a great conversation that night about, what does that next chapter look like? And he's like, Ariel, our house is paid off. We don't have kids. We're married now. So we are kind of in this sweet spot. And I'm lucky enough that my husband's a pipe fitter and a licensed plumber. And he's like, I just think you should start your own business. Everyone has said you should be a financial advisor. Like, just go do it. And if it sucks and you hate it, he's like, you can get a job anywhere. And that's when I think I heard that quote for the first time. It was like, my plan B is most people's goal life or whatever. Like, my plan B is getting a 9-to-5 job somewhere.
No. Your plan B is being like a department head or the vice president at a job. Or, not working at McDonald's or Target or Wendy's. But
like, back to corporate.
Your plan B is what most people literally work 20 to 25 years to try to be. And that's why I tell everybody to get an entrepreneurial track, because if you're kicking ass in corporate America, you always know you can go back. Simple as that, period. If you're a senior mechanical engineer or senior general superintendent or whatever, you can always go back and get another job. Another great 6-figure career. But our plan B is everyone else's plan A, and I love that. It's so true. That is so true.
Yeah, 100%. And I was like, and the thing that scared me the most, going back to this kind of money talk, was it's like, well, what if this doesn't work? Like, I still have like another year on my car, and like, I can't have you like pay my bills for me, and like, I don't want to be financially dependent on you. And I remember he just looked at me. He's like, Ariel, we're married, like it's our money, like what's mine is yours, this whole concept. And I was like, okay, but I'm still my own independent person. And yeah, he just completely like supported me through that. And I ended up quitting and I got licensed and I became a financial advisor and I started my own financial planning practice.
I love it. What are some of the credentials that a licensed financial planner has to have, such as yourself? What are some of the credentials they have to have?
So I have my Series 6, my Series 63, my Series 65, my life and health insurance license. And there's, other different licenses that you can get along the way, and credentials and designations and things like that. But, those are kind of those ones I carry. Got
you. I love it. What year did you leave corporate America?
That was 2020, the year of the great whatever. Everyone calls it, right? The great resignation, I guess. It's just coincidence for me. It wasn't, a lot of people struggle during COVID. I feel bad when I say I loved it, because everyone was just getting back out to nature. And I mean, I do remember getting irritated going to the baking aisle, and like all the yeast was gone, and it was around, and I'm like, what? All of a sudden everyone has this hobby of baking when I'm like, I actually have to make something. Pretty funny, but no, yeah, so it was 2020. And then 3 months after I quit my corporate job and started my own practice, I broke my neck training a horse. And
this is the horse incident, right?
Yeah, so I got thrown. I was laid there for 2 hours before anybody found me. I got life flighted to Boston, had a C5, C6 spinal fusion, and then I was in Spalding rehab for about a month, and then came home with a walker and had to have help doing everything. And, it took me about 8 months, 9 months to get back on my feet, back to work. And, I'm still I still have some neurological deficiencies, but I will make a full recovery. Still working towards that. But, going from that's when it really hit me how much like most people, especially my age, would never have been able to, that could have been a decimating financial situation that happened to them. And we had so many of the right things in place. I had and I couldn't see my husband, my dad, anyone before I went into surgery because it was COVID. So I had to go get wheeled off into surgery. The only person they could get a hold of was my husband, and they like held it on speakerphone for a second. And I remember getting wheeled away going, oh my God, I can't believe the last thing I said to him was, I think I'll see you on the other side, which I meant surgery, but I was like, I hope he doesn't think I meant heaven. And then as I'm getting wheeled away and the lights are flicking over me, as I'm getting carted down the hall, I just remember going, oh, it's okay. I already have letters written to everyone. I had all my estate planning done. I had my life insurance in place. So I'm like, if this hits the fan right now, I know he's going to be okay. And I know everybody will know my last little thoughts to them. So it was just such a moment of peace that brought me in such a difficult and hard time. And then I had this great emergency fund that I had already saved. So when I did get out, there's this spinal cord injuries are very challenging for the patient. Of course, they're challenging medically, but as a patient, especially someone that's really type A like myself, it's very hard to have a diagnosis where they keep saying, I don't know, everyone's different. Well, who else has had my same this and that? Well, we can't compare you to those people because everyone's different with a spinal cord injury. There's no they don't really give you much prognosis. It's just kind of like, we'll hope for the best and keep doing what we can. And that was hard. So I was doing lots of alternative treatments as well that weren't covered by insurance. And I was able to do those due to the fact that I had that emergency fund saved up.
Got you. You had everything just left, right, left from a financial standpoint, Ariel. You had your estate planning set up. You had your emergency fund in place. You had your life insurance in place. So your husband was taken care of. And to everyone that's listening, this is essentially how you become a responsible financial planner for your family. I know you don't have kids yet, but it always breaks my heart when people die and they don't have wills, they don't have trust, they don't have estate planner, they have no emergency fund, they have to do GoFundMe's. And to some extent, I get it. Not everybody is as blessed financially as me and you are. Not everybody was kind of just shown the right people, the right period of life to say, no, you need to basically go to college. No, you need to learn a trade. No, you need to basically invest your money. Not everybody was blessed to kind of have those individuals pop up in their life. But Ariel, you did everything left, right, left during COVID, mind you, and it turned out literally for the best. And I'm so happy to hear that because that could have went sideways and could have been a lot worse. It really could have been.
Yeah, no, I honestly, it's such a blessing. I'm so grateful and thankful for the medical team that I had, the therapists, physical therapists, the trainers, everyone that I had to help me get back on my feet after that, and my family and my lovely husband.
I recently had surgery on my rotator cuff and everything, and it's still healing. I had about 9 months ago, so I'm back to about, I would say, 75% of what I can do. And I want to, God willing, be able to take another fight, hop in a cage, and compete again. That's the plan. So, when you were going through surgery, were there any like athletic things? Okay, when I get back to 100% with me and my husband, this is something we're gonna do. Is there anything in your mind about some athletic thing you want to get back to doing? You said that's what I'm shooting for when you're going through surgery.
It wasn't going into surgery because I was in utter I mean, I was like, I hope I walk again because they didn't think I was paralyzed from the shoulders down, so I couldn't move my hands, I couldn't move my legs. So I was hoping for the basics at that time. But then when I got to Spalding, my dad came in one day and I made him help me make these signs for my door. And one of them said that I made my husband also pack me my heels and bring me like my favorite black stilettos in. And I remember him telling me the story about him packing with my sister, and she was like, get the heels. And he's like, I'm not bringing her heels in. She's absolutely out of her mind. If she can't walk in this. She can't even she's got Velcro sneakers right now. Like she can't walk in heels. And she goes, you have to bring them. She needs these right now. And he goes, I remember him walking in sassy going, what do you plan on doing with these? Huh? And I said, you're going to put them on the other side of my room. And I had them put them on the back of the couch, kind of leaning against the wall. And they were just across from my bed. And I would stare at them every day. And I was like, I will be back, and I will be back in heels. Like, that's for sure. I will be riding again. Though my husband compromised that I was not going to be training horses. I was just going to be riding the nice ones. And he was going to buy my next helmet, which we compromised on. But yeah, and that was hard to do. Like, let me say, my other goal too is I still can't do it yet, but my hand's still a bit neurologically it's weak. So, but I do really want to be able to get back to being able to do a CrossFit class.
Nice, nice. Me and you are both type A personalities. Definitely, Eric. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. Keep those goals, and one day you'll be doing it again. I remember when I hurt my shoulder. I went from doing 250 push-ups a day till I couldn't do a single push-up for like 9 months, which was really kind of insane if anyone knows me. And now I can do about 50 straight without it actually hurting. So just keep stair-stepping it, and you'll be okay. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
And also shout out to your husband, by the way, as well, because this dude sounds like a really cool ass dude. So shout out to him because he had your back the entire way, and I'm happy that he was there for you. Even as far as saying, no, you're smart enough to leave corporate America while you were trying to work for somebody else. You said he's a pipe fitter, so I got nothing but love for my blue collar dudes. To some extent, I wish I had learned a trade. I went the engineering route, but it's kind of crossed my mind to go back and still pick one up. But shout out to your husband because he sounds like a phenomenal dude as well. So shout out to him. When you left corporate, what are 3 pieces of advice you give anyone who's thinking about jumping ship and working for themselves? Because that's literally the second question I hear the most whenever I interview people on my podcast, as far as, okay, should I start a business, Chris, or should I stay in corporate? What advice would you give people about that 3 pieces?
Well, the first one is a little bit of a tactical one, but get your benefits squared away and know what you're going to do for your benefits plan. For instance, like your disability insurance is going to be based off of your salary and your income. And so if you get your own policy, you can do it so that it's off of that amount that you're earning before you take a pay cut working for yourself. So I think that's a really just kind of tactical one. The second is rip the Band-Aid off. Like, it's scary. Just do it. Like, let me tell you, like, you're way more resilient than you think you are. And even if it doesn't work out, that experience will look still great on a resume. You having the courage to back yourself and to do something that you believe in is 100%. That is always gonna look good. And that says a lot about who you are as an individual, as a leader, perseverance, following your passion. And the worst thing you can ever do is look back and think, oh, I wish I coulda, wish I shoulda. And then how many people of 2020, oh, I wish I did this 20 years ago. So if you're passionate about it, just go do it. You're not too old. And I don't care if that means you're 60 years old, you're not too old. Go do it. You'll be happy that you did. For whatever that experience comes for you, you'll be happy that you gave it a go. And the third is profit first. Pay yourself first. Invest. Don't forget to pay yourself, to invest for yourself. And that also means invest time. Like, take a day off. The world will not end and burst into a million flaming, meteorites if you take a day off, which honestly, that was something that I actually only learned, unfortunately, from breaking my neck. I was the definition of a workaholic before that. And I'm really blessed and grateful, as weird as it is sometimes, that I did have the accident that I did, because my perspective on so many things is so different. And so take your time off. You actually will be better. You will be better if you take some time off and you recuperate and you refresh and you get your creativity and your juice back. It will stave off the burnout. So take day off, take lunch. If you need 5 minutes, take 5 minutes. You not answering that one thing immediately is not gonna result in the apocalypse.
Absolutely. It's interesting. When I had surgery and everything, my wife kind of nursed me back. And one of the things I hated the most about it was being a grown man, having to like wait on people, like having to have somebody help you use the bathroom, have somebody help you wash the dishes. I was like, I can't do this. Is the absolute worst. So just shout out once again to your partner about that. Everybody's listening. That's the good thing about being married. You meet the right person. They got your back come literal hell or high water. And I love what you said, Earl, as well, as far as just you're smarter than you realize. You're smart. You're more resilient than you realize. You are you basically cut those golden handcuffs essentially. And a lot of people, I think that's a message that they need to hear because they do make it seem like it's scary and it's terrifying. And I can say it's been a guy that's jumped from just doing $10 million jobs to $75 million jobs to $1 billion projects. You are always smarter and more resilient than you realize. You can figure it out, and just go for it. Just go for it. Entrepreneurship. What are the three coolest things you can tell about being an entrepreneur and
Oh,
working for yourself?
I love that I get to just follow and do something I'm so passionate about. So after I became a financial advisor, I realized like one question I'd ask people all the time, standard question. So how much do you make? Everyone can tell you that. Everyone knows how much they made last year. Oh, I made 250, 500, 80 grand, whatever. They know how much they make. And then you say, great, what are your expenses? And I already know nobody can tell me the answer to this question. And then I say, okay, and you're making the financial decisions for your family? They go, yeah, okay. All right, great. Would you hire a CFO to run a company that can only tell you the revenue and not the expenses of the business? And would you trust the advice that they're giving you?
Crickets.
And if I follow that up with, if I asked you, do you feel like you have a good credit score? And people are like, yeah, good credit score. Great. What if we, instead of calling it a credit score, what if we called that your integrity score? Do you feel like you have a good integrity score?
I would say yes.
And that's a long pause for a lot of people. But that's what it is. Like, and a credit score is just, it's a show of your integrity. It's how good are you at following through with your word on something. And so, of course, those who have established credit, not those who don't yet have established credit. But, and I think just reframing some of those things, it really makes people get the aha moment. And there's so many people I've worked with that are highly educated, making well into the six figures. They are multi millionaires, and they don't know some of these just most basic things. And it's honestly, it's a travesty that this is the state that our kind of country is in and the education system, and that generationally it's hard to have finance is something that's so typically taught generation to generation, but it's really hard to have learn these great things from our parents when crypto didn't exist when they were growing up, when ETFs weren't a thing. There's so many just things that have just developed and changed over time. And then legislatively, how many things change going along with that as well. The Tax Cut and Job Loss Act is set to expire at the end of this year. Most people don't even know that or what that means for them. So if people don't realize their income taxes are going to go up, surprise, they are. So how many of these things just affect people? And I'm so passionate about not just educating them, but making it a significant change in their lives to support them through this path. It's the most fulfilling thing that I've ever done. And that's where Hilo was born from. So Hilo is a software that I started building in 2023, and our premium is going to be launching in Q1 of 2025. And it's just doing a complete automated cash flow management. So people don't need to think about it. It does every single element for them, from how much is going to your fixed expenses, bill paying, those power payments to eliminate high interest debt, how much is going to strategic savings. It's catching the extra dollars that are in your financial model that you don't realize are there, and you're just spending them because you just don't realize it. And it's teaching people how to live within their means with this wallet. The wallet card and our wallet concept is just saying, okay, this is how much money you have to spend for the month. And it's not a budget. I don't care how, no parent is coming home after a busy day, putting their kids to bed, prepping lunches the next day, doing all this stuff, and then sitting down and saying, okay, we spent $8 more in gas, $12 less in groceries. No one is doing that. So we don't care, honestly. I don't care how much you're spending at the grocery store, out to dinner, getting your nails done, up to no good, down out at the bar having fun with your friends or whatever it is. Bass Pro, get another gun, like whatever. I don't care where you're spending your money, as long as you're staying within the bumpers. As long as you're in your means, who cares?
Absolutely, absolutely. As a financial advisor, I'm gonna get back to Hilo. I actually had a lot of questions I want to ask you about that amazing app. As a financial advisor, what are three pieces of advice you would just, I would say, recommend to my listeners, if you will? Three
Get
simple.
get your emergency fund squared away. I'd say that is the most undervalued and the biggest safety net that you could possibly put in place for yourself. And if you have children or if you have a spouse and you can't cover your mortgage or daycare or whatever all of your household expenses are without your spouse, get life insurance. Until you have enough saved up in your investment accounts or this or that you can self-insure, just get it done.
Would you do term or a whole? Which one? Which one?
I think that's really depends, a case by case question. It really depends on what's going on, but get cheap term at a bare minimum. Like get something in place so that for the years that you've got kids at home, that 20, 30, they have 30-year term policies now, you know, you're going to have a couple kids, you're going to start whenever. So that, get their college squared away if that's something that's important to you. Get the mortgage paid off. Figure in what are the expenses that you're relying on your partner to have, and at least get that 10 years of coverage for them in place. I've had clients that have passed away. I've seen how much havoc that's wrecked on them, passing away in your 40s, passing away. I've had people who've just had these really tragic things happen, and having that almost happen to myself. And so, just do the damn thing.
Seriously.
It sucks, but just get that done. And the second is people really underestimate the power of compound interest. Save, and just that little, it doesn't have to be a lot. You don't have to be like, well, I need to save $1,000 a month and get this crazy. If you can save $50 a week, save $50 a week, but don't just put it in your, outside of your emergency fund. Don't just have it sitting in a checking account or whatever. Put that to work for you. Just get it into something at least. And I'll add on to that. And after you've hit, after you're over 100, 200, 300,000, please don't be a mutual fund anymore. No, that's not financial advice, but consult a financial advisor. But people, I think, just forget that they started out in something that was phenomenal for when you're getting going, but they then forget to continuously update and change their strategy as things progress on. So that is not financial advice. Please consult your financial advisor and an attorney and PA and all the other people that you need to talk to. Don't forget, I guess the real advice is just to update your financial strategy as your life goes on, your goals change, your priorities, and all that.
Yeah, I can't harp enough on that compound interest thing. Just because if you start an account at 60 and you put, I don't know, $1 billion into it every year, and you start an account at 2 and you put $5,000 into it every year, at 65, you're gonna have a lot more money than the guy that started at 60. And sometimes I don't think people realize just the tremendous power of compound interest. There's a reason why, I don't know if it's Einstein or Warren Buffett, I forgot which one, they said compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. It truly is. I mean, literally,
I love it.
Yeah, the compounding interest effects of a snowball or whatever you want to call it is insane. Once you get to about 250 in your accounts, when you start looking at how fast that thing starts building and building and building, it's a travesty that this kind of stuff is not taught in the school systems. It really is. It really is.
Yeah, I actually was just sitting down this weekend with my niece and had my financial calculator out and was saying, okay, when you graduate college, how much do you think you're going to start saving? And then I was showing her how much how much she'd have by the time she retired. So.
Absolutely. Let's keep it moving. Hilo, you just got to describing it, but for my listeners, what is it? Because I've actually been doing my own research on it on the side, and it seems pretty dope. So tell me, my listeners, what is Hilo? What is your app?
Hilo is a cash flow management, completely done for you personal finance tool. This is not a budget app. A budget is a diagnostic tool that either is showing you where the bleeding is, or it's showing you what your plan is for the future. But like with everything, you can have the best intentions to, go to the gym and have meal prepped all this stuff. But if you don't actually go to the gym and if you don't eat the food you meal prepped or make the recipes that you found, it's not going to do you a whole hell of a lot of good. And kind of weighing yourself is that check-in, like, how am I doing? Am I doing good? Am I doing bad? Am I on or off target? And that's all a budget is. A budget is not an implementation tool, and that's why there's so many budget tools out there, but people fall down and they don't stick to using them because it's just giving you a framework to operate within.
Absolutely.
Helo is the solution to that. Helo is an implementation tool because we are a smart bank platform. And with this FDIC insured bank platform, we are able to take money that's coming in, and we're able to, in a very smart way, using these different tools and for our smart onboarding process, know how much we need to allocate towards paying your bills for you, be able to advise on how much extra maybe you should be, say a suggestion about which loans we should be prioritizing and paying off first with those power up payments to reduce the term and reduce the amount of interest that these people are paying, strategically save for the goals that are important to them, whether that's maybe it's buying an engagement ring, sending a kid to college, maybe it's buying a house, maybe it's that amazing vacation you've always dreamed of, whatever that thing is. Maybe it's that starting a business fund for yourself. Whatever that thing is that you want to do, strategically saving and showing that progress and how quickly you're going to get there. And then we're using behavioral psychology to help teach people along the way how they're doing. And there is a learning library. You will be able to access content. That's going to be coming out later at the end of 2025. But with that learning library and that content that we're building out, you can do the education piece. But at the end of the day, my philosophy is I don't believe that financial literacy is the problem at the most basic level. People know to save money and pay your bills on time. But these two things on the most basic level aren't happening. And there's a plethora of ways to learn. There's podcasts, there's videos, there's movies, there's books, there's classes, there's ChatGPT. I mean, there's so many apps out there. You can find this stuff anywhere. It's the discipline and the financial responsibility, which is where we're falling down. And
Absolutely.
we treat that.
No, absolutely. I remember even growing up, like I said, okay, I wanted to become a mechanical engineer because I like engineering. I knew they made a pretty nice salary and I was always good with numbers. When I got my engineering degree, I was like, wow, I realized I know nothing about finance. So let me get an MBA, which is what I did. And when I got my MBA, I started realizing there's a whole world of knowledge out here that I still need to learn. So it's just continuous learning. So I think to some extent, you're right. We all know what we should be doing, but not all of us do it. And I think with the advent of YouTube, advent of stuff like Helo and things like that, we're making it that much easier for everybody to build generational wealth, Ariel. So I'm very happy about your product. I'm curious, can I buy like total stock market index funds, the S&P 500, things that track like real estate investment trust through Helo? Is that something that can be purchased through your app and everything, or no?
So Helo is going to be completely product agnostic. So while it won't make any recommendations on specific products yet, it will make recommendations on whether or not you should maybe meet with a Helo certified advisor. There's nothing that can replace that human element when it comes to finance, because finance isn't just numbers on a page. If it was, everybody would be great at it.
That's true.
But it's emotional. And it's that, my husband, for instance, he grew up a lot differently than I did. And his risk tolerance isn't as high as mine is. He just sleeps better knowing he has that on hand. Versus me, I could have, my bank account could be near empty and I'm like, I'm good. It's fine. Because that's how it was when I waitressed my way through college. And I was living paycheck to paycheck, getting by. And when I started out working in corporate, I think I made like $45,000 a year. And I waitressed to make extra money to help do stuff. But our thresholds are just very different. And that's where your financial values come into place. And software will never be able to understand that the way that a human being can. And not to mention the fact that there's so many complexities across the financial landscape of someone's life. And you need to be speaking with a professional that knows all about that genre.
Absolutely. Because you are a financial advisor, I'm curious. Let's say you did have, and I agree with everything, by the way, as you just said. Let's say you had that rich, long lost relative or that yacht owner, somebody that basically is going to leave Ariel and her husband $1 million. What would you do with that money? How would you invest it? How would you spend it? What would you do with that $1 million gift that you got from that long lost rich relative of yours?
It's funny you say that because I literally just the other night was playing around with my financial calculator because I am that much of a nerd. And my husband's like, what are you doing? Like, what numbers are you running right now? And I go, if I invest $1 million by the time I'm 35, I go, we'll have over $12 million by the time that I'm 65. So we'll have a distribution of about over $20,000 a month. I'm like, and that's in future dollars, not, I mean, that's in today's dollars, not future dollars. So, we might want to do this or that, but that's being conservative. And he's like, I can't believe that that's like where your mind is at. But so having your kind of retirement all set in one fell swoop based on that beautiful compounding interest sounds great to me. But reality will kick in and I'll probably take at least half of it probably and just invest it back into my business.
Absolutely. I love that. So $500,000 will go to your business and the other $500,000 will go into some type of stock, some type of investment. So you and your husband can just live off that 4% rule 30 or 40 years from now.
Yeah. Well, I'm more conservative. I try to go like 2%, but
Oh, 2%. Okay. All right. Excuse me. All right. I love it. I love it. But everybody, that's called planning, everybody. That's essentially what planning looks like. And I always like to ask people that question because even if they can't give financial advice, and I understand all the legal reasons why you can't, but a person tells you exactly what they'll do with $10,000 or $1,000,000, it tells you exactly where their mind is at financially and everything. So I love it, Ariel. I love it. I love it. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to a slightly more somber topic. As a woman who's in corporate America and is also dominating the entrepreneurial space, have you ever experienced the isms in corporate, such as sexism or anything like that? If so, how did you get around it?
yes, very much and many times. Oh, there's some just gross people in the world, I think. And I think that there's ageism is something that I faced, being really young and starting a lot of things. Even when I was moving up, I get asked all the time how old I am, even now. I think that's a big thing. The sexism, absolutely. I mean, I remember had one client, it was like one of my first financial planning clients, and it was this gentleman who said to me, oh, I thought my wife only wanted to meet with you because you were going to be like good at makeup or something, but you're actually smart. And I was like, wow, not only could that be further from the truth because I'm not good at makeup, but
Oh.
it was just so blatant and like just off the cuff. And then I mentioned like, oh, you'll need another like associate of mine. And they're like, oh, are you just the pretty face to close the deal? And then they come in. And I remember, just because I have no control on the staff sometimes, and I was like, oh, you're going to wish you were working with them, but you're stuck with me and I'm a lot more of a hard ass.
I like it.
And then just like the creeps, like there's some really creepy people out there that just say really inappropriate comments. I mean, oh, nice shoes and the legs that go in them and all this and sexy, whatever. It's so inappropriate. It's so off-putting. And I mean, I've been with my husband since I was 18 and I feel like I very much have the like, do not like, I feel like I do a good job of like have this like kind of like, this is not an open date. I'm not somebody you walk up to and you're like, oh, she looks like she's gonna want a hug or something. Like, no, thank you. I don't know you. Don't touch me. Like, and even just like coworkers that have said that they have had a crush on me or this and that. It's just like, it's so inappropriate. It's so uncalled for. And I just think it has no business in the workplace. But that being said, there's also some amazing allies that I've had along the way and some amazing men that have stood up for me, that have, saw something that felt like they felt uncomfortable by something that someone else was doing. So they would not leave me alone or stood with me and called an Uber and waited for me to get an Uber to get home. And, I've just had some really great allies and some amazing men that have just help to balance out the ick, as they say. But I think the best thing that I've done is, number one, starting your own business means you get to create your own culture. And so that's kind of one thing I always joke about is I say like, I'll never hire a finance bro. And and there's kind of that, whatever image is coming to mind of that for you, like Wolf of Wall Street, kind of vibe, like that's it. And it's just not something that I'll tolerate. I have zero tolerance for any type of, whether it's sexism, whether it's sexual harassment, whether it's, gender-based, anything, like I'm all set. We don't need that here. It's just not the time, place. And I'm so lucky that the team I have is amazing. They're the most wonderful group of human beings, and I'm so blessed to have all of them and to the pleasure of working with them every day. So that's nice. I say that's like probably the best.
Nice, nice. I find finance is a lot like engineering. It's very stale, it's very male, and it's very pale. So when you see people that show up and they don't fit any of those three descriptions, you do get the stupid I remember one job I actually was on. I had an individual who was going after women that we had. So I just stepped to the guy in front of everybody and fired him on the spot. And I got into some backlash because there were HR things that you had to do and everything to go through that. But I was like, look, dude, get off my job site. I was like, you're disgusting and you're a pig. And I basically went through the legal realm to try to get that guy arrested for what he was doing. And I think that's kind of what happens to be. If you're in a position of power, if you're not in a position of power, you have to step to the creepers and the scum and the low value human beings that exist out there, because there are there are a lot of them in the engineering and in the construction and in the finance world. That's been my experience anyway, being in all three. So yeah.
And it's amazing that you did that, because it takes a lot of courage as another male to stand up against other males at the same time.
And you get backlash from it. This individual actually had a very prominent position in the company. Like I was saying, there's certain things you have to go through as far as like from an HR perspective about getting people fired. And I made sure I went through the quickest way I knew to do it. And that got me some serious pushback at that particular company. But at the end of the day, I have a little niece, and some guy stepped to her the wrong way, did something inappropriate. Me getting him fired would be the least of his worries. It's as simple as that. There'll be other things I'll be thinking about doing to that individual. So at the end of the day, people have to stand up for you have to stand up for other individuals when you see wrongs are being done. Let's keep it moving, Ariel, because me and you could talk all day. But I want to be respectful of your time. Readers are leaders, and I truly believe that people that read a lot are the ones going to dominate the world. So what are 3 books that you would advise my listeners to read, Ariel?
Well, the first I think is, if you're going to start a business, you have to read Profit First. That's just, there's so many businesses that die, and the biggest reason usually is because they aren't creating a sustainable, they aren't creating anything that's sustainable for themselves. So if you really want to have a sustainable business, and it starts at the basics. So the earlier you start, just build the habit, the better it is for you. So I love Michael Michalowicz. I think he's absolutely hysterical. I love reading his books. And Profit First, I think, is just such a great book for any like new business owner to start out reading. The second I call the Bible for business owners, which is called the 12-Week Year. And this is something that a friend of mine at my old broker dealer actually recommended to me, and I just tell everyone they need to read it. It's phenomenal, and it's really based off the premises of take your big goals and break them out into these really just this very calendar of short-term steps and action items you have to take, and then attach metrics to them so that you can very easily track and see your progress on a weekly and daily basis. You will know how quickly you get off track with something. And I'll put it this way: how many people have started a diet or a program and they do so well for the first 5 days, 10 days, and then it's like, oh, well, I missed one day. And then it's like, oh, well, I didn't go yesterday, like I'll just go tomorrow. And then they don't go tomorrow, and it's all of a sudden they're completely off track. If they have those metrics in front of them every single day that you're looking at, it's so easy to tell when you fell off the wagon. And it's also really easy to see what are the leading and lagging indicators that you need to bring success into your life and the areas that you need it to be. It also really emphasizes the visioning and writing that kind of 5-year letter to yourself in the future, which I recommend everyone does. And it also has that concept of you need to take the 13th week off. You need to get away from your work so you can refresh and you can gain that perspective back. The hardest but best lesson that I've learned is for sure that. And then in terms of the third book, this is one that I will say has really transformed my mindset, and that is called The Big Leap. And The Big Leap was one that I was really struggling, and I actually started self-sabotaging my success. And this whole, if you haven't experienced it yet, you think, oh, fear of success, that's crazy, and this and that. And then all of a sudden, you know, what this crazy dream that you had started building, it starts to work and things start to click. And then all of a sudden these things start happening. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, this is happening well. And then you start to, and it's not even conscious. It's not like you wake up one day and you're like, oh my God, I'm terrified about how great I'm doing. But it's this slow, weird thing that happens. And I didn't even know what it was. I had actually talked to a coach at the time, and who was helping me actually recover from my accident. And he's like, oh yeah, you're hitting an upper limit. And I was like, what? And it was, you can only really accept so much love, support, money, success, happiness in your life before you're kind of out of this homeostasis moment, and then you'll self-sabotage to get yourself back into where your comfort zone is. And as an entrepreneur, you're constantly going to be out of your comfort zone. And if you're in your comfort zone, you're dying, kind of is how I see it.
I like that.
And so you need to read this book because it will help you cope through the challenges that accompany that.
Dope. I try to read one book a week, so I try to average about 50 to 52 books a year. I have not read either of those 3 books. So Profit First, a 12-week year, and The Big Leap, I'm going to be reading all 3 of them. If I were to answer this question, I would say read The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, phenomenal book. I would say read the book 7 Rules of Self-Reliance, by Maha Abuelin. And I would say the Little Book of Common Sense Investing by the Godfather, the GOAT, Jack Bogle, Vanguard CEO. That dude's a personal hero of mine. So yeah. My last question to you, Earl, like I said, I want to be respectful of your time. You are a wife, you're a daughter, an entrepreneur, and a great example to women and entrepreneurs everywhere. When God calls you home, your time on earth is past. What do you want your legacy to be?
My dream is that by the time that I go, the work that I've done, that nearly every single American will have at least a $10,000 emergency fund. And that amount of financial security that will add to those families, that will improve our communities, that will bring the power back to our people, and that will strengthen us as a nation.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. That is so dope, Ariel. And that's, generational wealth and financial literacy. I've literally seen people change the way they allow men to talk to them, the way they allow their bosses to talk to them, the way they allow their kids or their partner to talk to them. They start understanding how money works. And you just hit the nail on the head when you said that if everybody had a fully stocked 3 to 6 month emergency fund, it's amazing how much different they allow people to treat them, or they allow that job to treat them, or allow their business to treat them, or their partner to treat them when they know I have value. And that's one of the things that actually put me on doing Financipation. My wife said, Chris, you need to start a business during COVID, because she was like, you have all this knowledge about money, but you spend all your time not really giving it to the world. So figure out a way to give it to the world, which is why I started my channel. I think I'm an MBA. And I love what you said, because like you were saying, there's something about people having enough money in the bank to say, you know what, I don't have to tolerate or take this anymore. And I love that.
One thing I'll say about the whole generational wealth thing, and why I think that this is so important, and why everyone needs to be listening to this podcast, is because unfortunately, if you look at the statistics, 47% of Gen Z are financially reliant upon their parents, and that's 18 to 27-year-olds. This we're going, what is the opposite of generational wealth? We're going backwards from that. Instead of having something that's going to go pass on and on and on, there's such a dependency upon the previous generation, but they're not able to sustain it either. They're one bad accident, one layoff, one diagnosis away from not just the parents not now being in a precarious situation, but now their kid is not going to be doing okay either. So it's our responsibility to get this under control and bring back this power. And money is a vibration. We just need to bring it back to the key that it's supposed to be played in. And that was how we can then build that generational wealth. And I think the real root of that you just hit the nail on the head for is knowledge. It's sharing the knowledge, the message, seeing that click happen in someone's head. It's so important, and it needs to be talked about more.
Absolutely. Earlier, Ariel, you said something I want to touch on. You said the financial calculator. So I'm an engineer, I'm a math nerd, I'm a money nerd. So I live in a world full of numbers. Let's say you had a kid, right? And you had a baby. And let's say when your child was born, your daughter was born, you basically put $200 into a brokerage account for her. And every month you essentially put $200 a month into that. And let's say you got a 12% return on your investment for that particular account that you put it into. And let's say at 66 years old, let's say you passed when your daughter was 66 years old. For 66 years, you put $200 a month into an account that basically had a 12% interest. By the time your daughter turned 66, she would have $37.6 million waiting for her in that account. And that's just you putting $200 a month into it for over 60 years. People, $40 million just by putting $200 a month into it. And the thing that's crazy about it is you only put about $160,000 into that account for your own cash. That means the other $37.4 million was just compounding interest. Everybody, we got to get serious about building wealth in this country and understanding how the laws of compound interest work. I wish to God I knew at my age now that I wish I knew what I knew when I was 18, what I do now. But my sons are going to know this stuff as soon as they're old enough to say, Daddy, what's the index fund? Daddy, what's the S&P 500? And that's the reason why I say, people, we got to get serious about getting our generational wealth under wraps. And Ariel, I love what you're doing because everything you said is simple, it's effective, and I know that it works. So I want to say thank you.
And put the $200 for your kid into a Roth, please.
Oh, yes. Yes. I should have said that, into a Roth. That way it grows tax-free.
That's right. I love it. Thank you so much for having me. This is a lot of fun. I'm so excited for other people to listen to the messages you have to share. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ariel, for coming on. A lot of people say they want to podcast, they want to come on, but they either don't offer any value or they get stage fright and don't want to show up. So thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. And looking forward to us doing something else again in the future. Okay.
Likewise.
Yeah, everybody, this channel is all about making money. It's all about saving money. It's all about building generational wealth. And it's all about financially emancipating yourself from generational poverty. You can book a one-on-one session with me at any point below. I'm not giving you financial advice in this channel. You must make responsible decisions based on the thorough independent research that you do for yourself. Please check out my website, www.therealfinancipation.com. My Instagram is _Financipation. My Spotify is Financipation. And my TikTok is Financipation. Additionally, please check out my financial blog and some of my financial e-products. And I got a digital product and an e-product as well. Our financial masterclass is going to be coming out soon. Hit that notification bell so you like, comment, and share the channel. Lastly, Ariel, where can everybody how can everybody get in touch with you? What kind of social media handles do they have? If they want a dope financial advisor, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so if you'd like to go sign up for Helo, you're going to go to gohelo.com, GOHELO.com. And if you do sign up before, I believe it's March, you can get also locked into a 30% off lifetime discount for this services, which is amazing. And then in terms of financial planning or anything like that, wealth management, you can find us at www.nwsadvisors.com. And that's like Northwest South, nwsadvisors.com.
Nice. I'm thinking about setting up an irrevocable trust for my kids. Is that something that you can help me and my wife with, or?
I've got the guy to do it.
Perfect. All right, we will definitely be in touch offline, okay? Thank you, Ariel, for coming on. I really do appreciate it, and thank God we met at FinCon, okay? So, yeah.
Likewise.
With that, I'll see you around. Take care, okay? Peace.
Take care. Thanks.